Welcome to the video for Math 1330 covering projects 1 through 3. This project is going to introduce you to some of the formulas in Excel that we're going to be using later, as well as the histogram tool. Let's start off by reading the first part of the instructions for this project. It says, use Excel to simulate tossing a fair coin 10 times. Generate 20 such simulations of 10 coin tosses. So, the first thing we need to do is figure out how to use the random number generator. If you don't already know the formula and you haven't looked at the using technology in the book for chapter 1, the easiest thing is to click on this FX button that's always on Excel. If you click on it, you can search for what you want. I know I want a random number generator. So I'm just going to search for random number. And you'll notice it gives you a few different things. First one is rand. This is going to give you a decimal between 0 and 1. And it's not really helpful in this project, but it's used a lot of times for other things in statistics. Rand between is what we're going to want to use. It's going to give you a whole number back that's between two numbers you give it. And then there's some other distributions that we're not going to deal with in this course. So I'm going to click rand between. It asks me for my bottom number, which is going to be 0, and my top number, which is going to be 9. This is just like when we were getting numbers out of the random number table in the book. We're always going to be looking between 0 and 9 because that's just the easiest way to work it. Now, we need to do 10 tosses. The easiest thing to do, instead of typing the formula in again and again, is to go to the bottom right corner of your cell. And you notice how my cursor changed from a big bold plus to a smaller plus. Then I'm going to click with my left mouse and drag down to 10. And you'll notice that they all filled in. If I click on any of them, it's going to tell me it's a rand between 0 and 9. Now I need 20 simulations. So I'm going to highlight all 10 by clicking my left mouse at A1 and dragging down and then letting go of the left mouse once I got to 10. And then again I'm going to go to that little plus in the bottom corner and drag across. The 20th letter of the alphabet is U, so I'm just going to drag across to U. Now at this point I've got all of my simulations. Now because I want it to get to where I can see them all on the same page, I'm going to go ahead and format the column width and make it a little bit smaller. Right now it's an 8, so I'll make it a 6, and then I can see them all. Now, the rand between formula is volatile. You might have seen that when you went to the function when we were entering it in here. That means that anytime something happens in our Excel spreadsheet, the random number generator is going to be reformatted and calculate a new random number. This can be very annoying when you're doing your project. So what I recommend you do is go ahead and copy all of your data and then go to a new sheet. If you don't have one down here, if you just click this little plus, it will make a new sheet for you. I already have one. And then we're going to paste. Ignore what I had there because that's old stuff. And then go back because Excel will do that. If you do anything else, it'll delete what you had copied. So I'm just going to copy again and then paste. And you want to paste values, which is the second one. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger so you can see it. And again, change my column width back to 6. Note, changing the column width isn't something I really care that you do. I'm just making it so it's easier for you to see on this video. Now the next part of the project says, count the number of heads in each 10 tosses. So each column is a set of 10 tosses, and we need to count how many are heads and how many are tails. It is up to you which 5 numbers between 0 and 9 you set as heads and which 5 numbers you set as tails. For this, I'm going to go 0 to 4 as heads and then 5 to 9 as tails. If you do it the other way, it's okay. It doesn't really matter as long as you are consistent for all of them. Now, to make my counting easier, I'm going to highlight all of my numbers between 0 and 4 because these will be my heads. And it also helps some of the questions we have later be easier to see if we had any strings of heads or strings of tails. So I'm just going to highlight them all yellow, that are heads. And you can go ahead and do all the rest of the columns. I'm just going to stop right there. Now to count, I'm just going to count how many cells are yellow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I'm going to do this for each column. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I don't want that yellow because that'll confuse me. One thing you can do at this point is you can insert in a new column, and then here I'm going to put number of heads. So I had 6, and then 5, 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 5, 4, 7, 9. And you'll notice sometimes Excel will automatically format for you. You can just go back up to the top and set them how you want them. And now I'm going to just enter in some random numbers. For the rest of them you would actually count, but just for sake of speeding up this video, I'm just going to enter in some random numbers for these. Okay, now the next step says to create a histogram for the number of heads per 10 coin tosses using Excel. To do this, you need to go up to Data. Then you need to find the Data Analysis Tool Pack. Sometimes it's over here in Data. Insert, Page Inserts. I may not have it installed already on my computer, which will be a good thing to show you how to find it. If you go up here to the Excel button at the top corner, go to File, and then to Options. Then go down to Add-ins, and there should be the Analysis Tool Pack. You want to go ahead and add that one in, and click OK. Now it should be added in. Under Data, you can see the Analysis Tool Pack, and then go ahead and click on it. Now in here there's a bunch of different things. Because we want to make a histogram, we're just going to go click on Histogram and then hit OK. The input range is going to be our number of heads. So I'm going to go ahead and select those. Then we can skip the bin range in labels. The one thing you do want to check is chart output. That means it's going to output the chart for us. And then you can just add it into new worksheet ply. That's perfectly fine. And then go ahead and press OK. And you'll notice it added a new sheet with our histogram for us. Now this histogram isn't perfect yet. If you remember, our histogram, our columns are supposed to be touching. So if you click on a column and then click right click, you right click on it with the right mouse button, you should be able to change the style. Format Data Series. And then come over here to gap width and set that at 0%. And then we have our histogram. You'll notice that they put the midpoints for each pin at the bottom, and we normally just use 0 to 1, 2 to, this would be 0 to 2, 2 to 4, 4 to 6, and 6 to 8, and then 8 to 10 is how they have it set up. But as long as you have some sort of histogram like this, it's fine. It doesn't have to be exactly like the one you would make by hand, but it gives us an idea of the shape. The next thing it asks us is to make one other graph in Excel of your choice from the data. So go ahead and still use the heads, and you can insert any kind of graph you want. If you go to Insert, and then you go over here to Charts, there's a whole bunch of them. You can do bar charts, different types of bar charts, stocks, line graphs, different kind of analysis, pie charts. Doesn't matter what you use, it's your choice. You could also add in the number of tails, and then you can do some of the two ones like these. You would work better if you had heads and tails. So now the next part, it says calculate the mean, median, mode, and sample standard deviation. So I'm going to go ahead and add that over here. Mean, median, mode, and the standard deviation. Again, we're going to use the number of heads and the number of tails. So just these numbers right here. So it's not actually going to be the mean of each column, it's just going to be the mean overall. And this is actually a function already in Excel. If you don't know what it is, you can always go up here and type it. It helps to have my fingers on the right spot. Now you notice if I type in mean, it gives me a lot of weird things. You're not quite sure. You can go through the list. It actually is average. Because mean is our standard, what most of us think of as average, the arithmetic mean. And so they just use the old-fashioned term of average. You can click OK, and you can select your numbers. And press enter. Now, you can do the same thing for median, but the formula is just median. If you type it in, then you can just select your cells again and press enter. You don't even have to close the parentheses. If I close this, then I'll be able to see the rest of all of my numbers. Mode is just mode. Standard deviation is an interesting one because there are many different standard deviations. So I'm going to go ahead and type it in to make sure I get the right one. I do know what it is. And remember, you can always read down here what they are. This is the estimates the standard deviation based on a sample, so it's the one we want. And then again, we can collect our numbers. And now we have those 4 calculations. The next thing is to compare the simulations. Are there strings of 10, strings of 4? Does it seem that most of the simulations half are heads and half are tails? This is the question that you're going to write up in Word. You should go ahead and report what the mean, median, mode, and standard deviation are in complete sentences, and then go ahead and answer these questions. You can say there were no strings of 10 heads if that was your case. In my case, I did have some strings of 4. Right here, right here, right here are all examples. So I will go ahead and tell how many of those there were. Here's another one in a different column that I haven't color-coded yet. Write your write-up in complete sentences and make it so it's sort of like a lab report if you've ever taken a lab class. And then that's all you'll have to do for this project. You should save this file and attach that to the assignment as well as your Word file. So you should have 2 files attached to the assignment. You don't have to add any other text. And then that's all you have to do. If you have any questions, please let me know, and I'd be happy to help you with any problems you're having with Excel.